One of my favorite sayings that I say to myself over and over again is that optimization is the enemy. And what I mean by that is a lot of people have things in life that are working well, and then they sabotage it because it's not perfect, right? And in the pursuit of perfection, they actually end up ruining what is already working well. A really good example of this concept is somebody who goes to the gym and always switches their workout routine, right? Everybody knows this person. They're always trying a new diet, they're always trying a new routine at the gym, and they never make any progress because they're not consistent, right? Like every week, they are changing what they're doing. They're changing what they're eating. They're changing the kinds of exercises they're doing. They're changing the kinds of, the muscle groups that they're targeting. And even though they're going to the gym, sure, maybe they're making a little bit of progress, but in the pursuit of a perfect system, they've actually lost the ability to make very meaningful change in their life. Okay. And I'm sure we've all experienced this, right? Like if you do something consistently for at least 2 months, you really see a difference, right? And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like you could get a workout routine off of the internet, like off of some forum, and just do it, right? Like it could be a weekly routine. You do it for 8 weeks straight. You're going to get results. Now, is that the best routine? Probably not, right? Like if you were somebody who could hire a fitness coach, they're probably going to give you a better routine to follow, right? So there's always a better system, but what matters is that you actually do it and you don't change your mind over and over again. Um, another really great example of optimization is the enemy is the doorman's fallacy. So for those of you who don't know, the doorman's fallacy is pretty much this idea that a group of investors purchase a building, like a residential building, and there's a doorman there, right? And the doorman is making $60,000 a year. And pretty much what he does is he just opens the door and closes the door for anybody walking in and out of the building. And the investors look at the doorman and they're like, why are we wasting $60,000, right? Like he's just opening the door, he's not doing anything. So they fire him. A year later, the investors visit the building again and they go, this place is a mess, right? Like there are teenagers in the lobby, they're loitering. There's a lot of garbage in front of the door. There's pet waste and all this kind of stuff. Um, and they wonder like what happened? Why like what's going on here? Well, it turns out that the doorman was actually preventing the one or two teenagers from walking into the lobby on a weekly basis, right? And he was preventing people from littering in front of the door, and he was preventing people from allowing their pets to, um, you know, do their business in front of the building. And because he wasn't there anymore, all of those rules just went out the window. And so now teenagers are always in the lobby, and the environment is just unclean. And this is a great example, right? Because the value of the building now has gone down. It's no longer as luxurious as it was before, all because the investors fired the doorman, right? Like they prioritized short-term gains over long-term gains. And they didn't realize how important those systems were. They didn't think about it enough. They didn't investigate it enough. I'll give maybe one last example of this, and it's one of my favorites. I was watching an interview with Jeff Bezos on 60 Minutes, and I don't know when this interview was from, but it was from the 2000s, and I was watching this maybe a few years ago, and Jeff Bezos was telling the interviewer, we have microeconomists on our team who are telling us to raise prices, right? Like they're telling us that we need to raise prices because people are still going to buy from us. They just like using our website, and so it's better for us to raise prices because we can make more money. And Jeff Bezos goes on to explain that they didn't want to do that. And you might think to yourself, well, why not, right? Like, if you know that people are still going to buy from you, why not raise the prices? And he was explaining to the interviewer that if they raise prices, it actually, obviously, they would make money, they would make more money, but it would hurt Amazon's brand, right? Because everybody knows Amazon as the website that you go to get the lowest price. And that is ultimately why so many people go there. So even though it wouldn't hurt them for a few years, right? Like let's say they raise their prices and they squeeze out as much profit as possible, even though that would work for a few years, over time, it's going to hurt their brand. More people are going to decide, you know what? I'm not going to go to Amazon anymore because, what's the point? I might as well just go to another website, or I might as well just go to Walmart. Um, and that's ultimately why they kept the prices low, right? Because they want to keep the reputation that has allowed them to become such an enormous company. And reputations can be lost pretty fast, right? So he knew not to do that. And quite frankly, I'm not an expert on the company, but their retail division is always doing well, right? Like they're every year they seem to be growing, and it's because they have the trust of the public, right? So in this case, they didn't prioritize short-term gains over the long-term gains, and it's really helped them out. Because when you focus on having a good system and just having something consistent, you're going to do well. So that's really the way that I see it. I think you can apply this line of thinking to almost anything, right? Like your, it could be business related, it could be personal, it could be academic. Um, actually, I could talk about this. I know I said that would be the last example, but I'll give this other one. Um, when I was in school, something that I would do, and it was a huge problem, something that I would do is if we had a test, the teacher would say, you need to study these 10 chapters um, for the test. And so what I would do is I would go, okay, I need to understand chapter one fully before I move on to chapter two. And what would end up happening is, I would spend half of the time on one chapter, become an expert on it, right? And then I'd have to cram the other nine chapters because I don't have enough time to actually become an expert on each. And so um, I was trying too hard to be perfect, and it really cost me um, when I was a student. And so that's another example. If I just took the approach of like, hey, I'm gonna try to generally understand all of this content, and then after I have a bird's eye view, that's when I'm gonna go deep on it. I would have done a lot better in school, right? Now, to be fair, I was never a poor student by any means, but I definitely think that I could have been a lot better if I just let go of this idea of perfection and optimization. So, yeah, really trying to focus on progress. And like I said, I think the biggest use case for this is in the business world. And I think that the businesses that are able to welcome mistakes and welcome failure are probably going to be the ones that are going to do the best. So